We want to continue with the Mora concept, with the concept of awe, because that's where all the gray matter is, so to speak. That's where all the grays are, the question marks are. In terms of kavod, we know it's black and white. We have the basic creature comforts of a person: food, drink, shelter, basic needs, physical needs. Not deliberately, according to some, not deliberately causing pain, so that would be a non-physical need as well. But the real, we called it gray space, is in mora, in awe. So we talked some more about that yesterday. I want to speak a little bit more about it today. When we say we, good morning. Hi. When we say we love a person, right? We love a person. We love a parent, or whomever. What does that mean? When we say we love a person, what does that obligate us to? We love a parent. Everybody loves a parent. So if we stay in the context of parenting, but if you want to think of it more broadly, when you tell a person that you love them, or when the concept of ahava, we have ahavat Hashem, right? We have ahava being between people. When we say that, this notion of ahava, what does ahava mean? What does it demand of a person? What would you say? Yeah.
I'm going to express and expand my energy towards this person. Amen. And I'm going to, commit my energies to them in order to benefit with them, and I'm going to be there in highs and lows, and essentially I'm just going to be present for them.
I'm going to be present for them, right? I'm going to be present practically. I'm going to be present emotionally, right? I'm going to be present. Present, good, very good. What does it demand in terms of sacrifice? In terms of sacrifice, Isaac, if I tell someone I love them, or I do love them, right? Now, the question always becomes, well, who comes first? And it's a legitimate question. Who comes first? I love my spouse, right? I love my children. They love me. But who comes first? What do we hold in Judaism?
You come first.
I come first, right? I love my mom. I love my dad. But I come first, right? I have to care for my own needs first, right? Now, I love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now it becomes a little more blurred. I love God, but who do I put first in that conversation? You would say, quick answer, is I put God first. I put God before myself. I'm moser nefesh. I sacrifice myself for God. And therefore you might say that the love model between man and God is different than it is between man and man. Yeah.
It can't possibly be.
Right.
Because I don't think God loves him more than he loves me.
Okay, good. So then what is it? What's the model?
It's a different universe in itself in terms of love. Between human and human, there has to be that level of humanity and that sand in the line, so to speak, that line in the sand. But with Hashem, it's a completely different, rule book.
So I put God before me, right? That's what we're saying.
I put me before God, and God puts me before himself.
Very good. So that's the way to get at it, right? So I'm going to put HaKadosh Baruch Hu before me, but I know that God puts me before anything, so to speak, right? Because what does God want in his connection to me, in his love of me? What God wants is only good for me. God doesn't need good. God doesn't pine good. God is good. So I can say that I love God more than me, right? Which we do, right? We could say. Because we know that the focus of God's love is me. So in fact, it's a little bit circular. So in terms of people, we know that we're obligated to love ourselves more than anybody else. I have to care for myself first. I have to keep myself emotionally whole and intact first. And therefore, therefore, I can love other people maximally, but I come first, right? And we've seen that people fail when they put other people before themselves. And again, that's the Western model. The Western model is, I turn the other cheek, I love my neighbor more than I love myself. We don't. We love our neighbor as much as we love ourselves. Good. Hi.
Good morning.
How are you? Nice to see you, Albert. So, we have good morning. We have an interesting setup here. In terms of love, we love ourselves first, right? You can't love anybody else more than you love yourself. In fact, the people who have tried to do that have brought destruction on each party, on the other person and themselves. Because if I attempt to love somebody else more than I love myself, I'm going to overexpress my love to the other person at the expense of me, in which case I create a tormented me, maybe sometimes a self-hating me, which ends up going back and reflecting on the other person. Right? This, we see it all over Western literature and Western culture. When I attempt to take the Western model and love another person more than myself, I end up resenting the other person, resenting me, and causing harm to either him, me, or both. And so, on a core level, we love ourselves more than we love anybody else, and we cannot and we must not give up ourselves for anybody else. You find a person, you commit your life to her, you love her more than anybody else in the world, except for yourself. And to the extent that I give up everything of me, or even X amount of me for somebody else, that's wrong, right? So my blood, or his blood, is no richer than mine. My blood is the richest. Good. And this is very, very, it's a very critical point, because we attempt to love people maximally. We attempt to do that, and we should, right? V'avta l'reacha kamocha. I attempt to love my re'ah, that person, that dear person to me, not a regular person, but the dear person, like I love me. But it's like I love me. It's not how I love me. Because I can't love another person as much as I love me. I want a successful marriage. I love me the most. I love my wife the second most. I love me the most, and then I love my children. As a child, I love me the most, and then I love my father the second most. Right? Yeah. Now, what this demands is a fierce sense of self, understanding of self, expression of self, and love of self. And if you're in a culture like we are, where this is not the norm, where this is the opposite, Haim Tovim, where this is the opposite of what people do, in our culture, the perspective is, I put everything before me. I put the other person, I put to this, I put to that, I put to that. So, we have a tougher mandate and a much more reasonable one from a human perspective. A human being can't love anybody more than he loves himself. Impossible. A human being wasn't wired that way. So can I love my neighbor like I love me? Like? In a version of? In a semblance of? Maybe. And that's a very high goal. Because the point is that I'm so fierce in my love of me that how can I even love anybody else close to that? But that demands that the fierceness and the rigor and the high bar of the love of me is never compromised. And what we fight in overwhelming cases, at least in my own lifetime, what I've seen in my teaching with young adults, is this issue exactly. This is the cornerstone issue, love of self. This is the cornerstone issue. If people had a rigorous love of self, 90% of the story moves away. The biggest challenge is a lack of love of self, and a lack of bulletproof love of self. So, we're in the context of Kibbutz Avayim, where we're dealing with a couple of interesting challenges.
Society makes you feel selfish, right?
Huh?
make some, me come first. Like, because of how it is in American society, make somebody feel selfish to come first.
Right. Selfish in a negative sense.
Yes, negative.
Right.
Self.
In Judaism, selfish is a good word. It's not a bad word. When we say selfish in America, meaning I put myself first, that's considered a bad trait. Not a bad trait. Very good trait. Yes, I'm being selfish. That's correct. I'm putting myself first. Now, the idea is, not the idea, the axiom is that when I do put myself first, when I have a rigorous sense of a vibrant, strong sense of self-love, I can love everybody consistently and deeply and more than I would otherwise. If I'm emotionally depleted, then how much could I love another person? Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to the famous saying, I take care of me for you, and you take care of you for me.
Exactly. So are we good on that? If we can instill in ourselves and our children that value, go home. You're done. You don't have to do much beyond that. If I can instill in my children an unshakable identity based on love of me, there's nothing you're going to do, Mr. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Mr. Jones, Mr. Smith. There's nothing anybody is ever going to do to compromise my love for me. And if there's a ding in my love for me from time to time, I'm going to ferociously fight to grab it back, and you get out of my way if you try to stop me. If we can instill that in ourselves and our children, we will be happier people, much happier people. Our children will be superstars. They'll be Teflon. They'll be resilient. They'll be rock solid. What do people struggle with their whole lives in Western society? We struggle with reclaiming the love of self. So if someone has a great year in business, they love themselves more. If they have a failed year in business, it's not just an objective, rational business issue. It's a crisis of self. My business failed. What do? I'm an architect. What do? I'm a retailer. No, what do you do? I'm a ben Torah. I'm a Baal Chesed, I'm a husband, I'm a father. If I have to answer that question at all, right? The question is awkward to begin with. So when we buy into this society, which we must because we live here, and overwhelmingly it's great, we have to understand the pitfalls that it presents. I align myself with what I do more than who I am. My self-love is overwhelmingly contingent on how well I did in what I do, rather than who I am. If I'm learning a piece of Torah, right, and I broke my head for a week and I still can't get it, am I less of a person? I'm more of a person because I committed to learn it. But we have the thing twisted. The guy who got it is the better guy. The guy who didn't get it is the lesser guy. And therefore, the guy who didn't get it, his love of self might be dinged or reduced. So, let's start with the premise. Again, I'm not telling us anything we don't all know. Let's start with the premise of my biggest challenge in Western society as a Jewish person, as a human being in Western society is to claim an unshakable sense of self-love, no matter what. When it's good, when it's less good, when it's less than less good, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I am absolutely resoundingly in love with me. And nobody's going to push that out of the way. Good? Sure? Got it? Okay, good.
Just don't tell anybody.
Huh?
Just don't tell anybody.
Why?
It's your own inner confidence. It's your own... As soon as you start talking about it, you look like an idiot.
Why?
I love my children. I'm not going to... First, I'm going to tell my children I love them. I love my wife. I love my wife. I love my family. I love my father. I love them. But I'm not going to say I love myself instead of you or over you or more than you.
Why wouldn't you? How does he know to love himself more than you? How would he know? No, you're right. This is exactly what people think. Exactly. So if he only knows that you love him, does he have any idea that you love you? He doesn't. And most people don't. So how do they know to love themselves? They don't. And most people don't. The reality is most people don't love themselves. They liked themselves a lot when they had a great day or week or month or quarter. They liked themselves less when they had a less than great day, week or quarter. And this is how most Westerners live. I'm fabulous, I'm garbage. I'm good, I'm nothing. This is how it goes. This is how it goes. Now, what it's supposed to be is like this. Nobody's going to feel bulletproof all the time. Nobody's going to feel absolutely enamored with himself all the time because life has its stuff. So yeah, I'm going to have these. But am I going to have these? That's non-human. That's an attack on humanity. And when you have that, which we all do, unfortunately, hopefully to lesser and lesser extents, then let's say a great opportunity comes your way, right? Joe, great opportunity comes your way and you're down here. Emotionally, you going to take it? Of course you're not going to take it. You're going to skip it. Let's say a great person comes into your life. Are you going to embrace that person and see maybe you can build a relationship? Of course not. Of course not. So you got to be lucky enough for all the good stuff to come at you when you're up here. Not so easy. But if I start, Albert, with the perspective, you know how I address my wife and my children? You know what? You know why I could love you as much as I love you? Because I have a massive reservoir of love for me. Massive reservoir. And because I have so much of my love for me, I can give love to you. Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the Habdil, this is chapter 2 of his book, right? Chapter 2. When we first read it and when we taught it many years ago, people said skip that chapter and go back to it at the end because it's the most difficult. And it's true, it is the most difficult. And he calls it an emotional bank account or something. Isaac, you probably know verbatim what he calls it. But he calls it something like an emotional bank account, which he says has to be robust and in place for anything else to happen. So our premise is, and you hit the point exactly, we have to go the other way. I have to tell my wife, I'm going to do everything in my power to claim a robust, resolute, unshakable love of me. I'm going to do everything in my power to claim that. Everything. And you know what? And as I do that, while I'm doing that, I can love you with all my heart. Almost all my heart. But if I don't have the love of me, how much could I give her? I can give her something. I can give her something. What do you think?
I agree with the even keelness of life.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I agree with being on an even keel in life. The up and down is very dangerous.
Right.
Never ever get too up about anything. Never get too down about anything. It's trying to.
I would say I would want you to get too up about everything.
Right, but it doesn't work.
He's never coming back to the class. That's why we're here.
I've heard this speech like a couple times. So
I'm sorry?
I mean, I've heard this speech a couple times, so I'm a little.
Okay. So you're more bought in. You're more bought in.
I'm gone over the shock.
Oh, of when you heard it the first time, you say.
The speech is a shocking speech.
It's shocking. Okay. Do you have any Israeli relatives or Israeli friends?
Oh yeah, a little bit.
What do we call what they have? They have Israeli chutzpah, right? They have azut.
Yeah.
They have nerve, right? Where do they get that from? They have a ton of nerve. They have a ton. That's why they're one of the greatest countries in the history of the world, because they don't sticky about anything. They really don't, right? The cab driver tells the prime minister how he should get his policy straightened out, and he refers to him on a first name basis, right? This is a fact. We know this, right? And that, because every cab driver knows he's as smart as the prime minister. Of course he is. He just didn't go into politics. Right? So what do you want from him? Right? Unfortunately, we, in these countries, we drank the wrong Kool-Aid.
I'll tell you a funny story. I took my dad to a restaurant. My dad's Israeli. Took him to a restaurant, world famous restaurant. They bring out, you know my dad. He brought out hummus, tahina, whatever. Abba, how do you like it? Call the chef out. Call the chef. The guy comes in, Hebrew, right? Talking Israeli to Israeli. The guy's telling him, I have a question. He goes, great restaurant. Tell me, you don't know how to make hummus? Because you need much more lemon in this, you need this, that.
That's all.
Looking at it.
He didn't even think about it.
World-renowned chef. It
Right.
was a famous Israeli restaurant. And he said, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't think about it. And by the way, the chef was happy to get it.
Right? You know my dad.
Was the chef happy to get the thing?
He first shock, right? What's going on here? And then he listened to him. He's listening to him. But first, we were embarrassed. Like, come on, yeah.
It's great. I love it. I love it. But that's the right way to be. That is the right way to be. It's famous. It's not something that in Startup Nation, right? You have to read that book again. I started reading it again now. It's many years ago. One of the things that they highlight as being a core element of the remarkable success of the IDF is the fact that an enlistee, right, a young soldier who just came in, will call out his commanding officer on something he thinks he did wrong. They flatten the pyramid, and that's why it's so effective. Because the reality is, everybody is smart. And the chef, to Joey's example, may not accept the advice, but the fact that somebody will offer it more times than not, he's probably right, the one giving the advice. So this azut, this nerve, comes from an unshakable sense of self-love, as it should be. As it should be. We have a chip on our shoulder. You said it perfectly. Don't get too high, don't get too low. You know what I've told my students? Get as high as you possibly can. There ain't nobody on the planet better than you. And the day you think that will be the beginning of your life. That's when your life starts. That day. Whatever you did up until that point was good, was fine, was valuable, but it was a primer, it was a prep. The day you buy into the fact, I come first, I'm better than anybody else, nobody's going to take away my love of me, nobody, the day you do that, everything is different. And for us, and we're blessed, we have the greatest community in the world, we live in a free country, bli ayin hara. We're safe, we're this, we're that, we have thriving institutions. The one massive debt we've paid is the inability to claim a resilient sense of self-love, because our culture almost wipes out the possibility. And if there's anything we could do for our children, anything, and I'd say it's Aleph ad Taf. If you're not going to tell me it's Aleph ad Taf, it's A to Z, it's Aleph ad Y, A to Y. It's almost the whole alphabet. 95% of the alphabet is this. Anything else is just adornments. It's just extras. It's just extras. Because when we have a fierce sense of self, we threaten people. We confuse people. They don't understand it. Does Donald Trump give a damn about anybody? Does he? Hi, great to see you. All right. Does he really give much of a damn about anybody? No. Not really. That's why he's a giant. He's not going to be successful in everything, but that's why he's a giant. Because he says, of course I'm the best guy out there. Nobody better than me. Who's better than me? Who's better than me, he says. Does he say that in several different manners? He does. I'm the greatest, I'm the smartest, I'm the best. Nobody like me. Nobody makes a deal like me. Nobody. The reality is he may or may not be true. But that sense of self is invaluable. I come first. I'm the best. I'm number one. The last person who's going to be haughty is that person. And that resounding sense of self-love is the cornerstone to everything. Cornerstone to everything. You know what? You want to tell me about getting high on me? There should be no limit. There should be no limit. I should walk into the room thinking that I am the best architect who ever was, whether I am or not.
But it's not because of what you've done, it's because of who you are.
It's because of who I am inherently, fundamentally. There's no criteria, there's no character traits, there's no success or failure that I have to attach to it. Where do you go to school again? Maryland?
Penn.
Penn, sorry. I am the best University of Pennsylvania student who ever filled these halls. The best. I'm the best. Does that mean he's going to be haughty or conceited? The opposite, never. He's going to be confident and resilient and self-loving and unshakable in his sense of self-love. Is it going to go up too high? It doesn't have to. It doesn't go up or down. But you want to sit with your family at a meal, you want to tell them, yeah, that's right. I love myself more than anybody else. As much as I love you to the ends of the world, I love myself more. That's right. That's what it has to be. I can't love another person more than me. God didn't build the human being that way. It's impossible. It's impossible. So when I attempt to do that less, effectively what I do is, it's a trigger and an excuse to love myself less with the claim that my love is being directed to somebody else. It's not. I'm just loving myself less. So our mandate, our responsibility, our opportunity is to claim an unshakable, undeniable, super high level of self-love. Nothing puts a ding in it. By the way, things will put a ding in it. I push them out right away. People who don't play into that, out of my life. Out. Out. What you should, dear Albert, what you should be telling your children is, you go as high as you possibly can. There ain't nobody better than you. There's nobody better than you. And that's how you should feel. Now let me ask you something, Mr. University of Pennsylvania. If you went into class with this perspective, or you went into the prep for your final with this perspective, you'd work very hard, right? You still have to study the content, right? Is your mind going to be more clear? Are your answers going to be more robust? Yes or no?
I guess I'll try and let you know.
You will try and let me know. The answer is yes. So, if this is the premise, right? The premise is, I love me first. I love me most. I come before anybody, and that's a good, healthy, positive, essential thing. The most important thing we can claim, the absolutely, unequivocally, without question, most important thing we could give to our children. Nobody comes before you. Not even your kids. When people tell me things, you know why I sacrifice? You know why I work till 10 o'clock at night? For my kids. To provide something for my kids. They are the cheapest form of liars on the planet. There's no cheaper liar than that guy. He's the cheapest liar. No, give me a sophisticated lie. Give me a sophisticated lie. I'll take a sophisticated lie. But don't think I'm dumb enough to buy into your cheap lie. Your cheap lie is that you're not home with your children, loving your children, doing your homework with them, caring for them, that, because you're providing for them something where they'll benefit at some point, maybe in the future. That's an excuse. That's an expression of lack of self-love, inability to project self-love, and therefore an inability to love the people who are most important to you. Yes, sir. We missed you.
Thank you.
Happy to see you.
Go back. The Torah teaches men and women are one. So now, how do you say it to the wife now? She becomes part of you, so she's number one with you. She's number one before you.
She's number two. She's not number one with me. Who said she's number one with me?
So what happened to the one?
The one became, you're right, it's an excellent point.
Everybody
It started as one.
become one.
Excellent.
That's
And they become one, but it's one-ish.
1A.
It's one and 1A. Yeah, it's one-ish.
Shalom classes at 9 o'clock.
Huh? Right. By the way, this wouldn't be a bad thing for a Shalom Bayit cut. If a person was resilient and resound in his love of self, he's going to love his wife much more. Because again, going back to Havdil, to the Covey point, he has reserves in the emotional bank account. He can love his children more. He can love his students more. He wouldn't be depleted. When does a person become depleted? When he doesn't have his own reserve, like anything else. Can I help somebody financially if I don't have money in my account? How could I? I can't. Can I help someone if I don't have physically, if I don't have the physical strength in my body? I can't. Same way I can't help somebody emotionally if I don't have the emotional deposit, the emotional reserve. This is the biggest challenge of our time. Take everything else off the table. There ain't nothing else. If you give me a young adult who has a massive level of self-love and self-respect, he can build any business, have a great loving relationship with his spouse, have a great loving relationship with kids. Where does the thing broken? Where does the thing fundamentally need to be fixed? Right on that point. Right on that point.
One question, Rabbi.
Can you give me another example? Yeah. This was all a warm-up, by the way. This was the intro. Yeah.
This azut, you're saying, which, by the way, like...
Explain everybody what azut means again. Remind everybody.
Brazenness.
Brazenness, great.
And we learned, like, the first words of the Shulchan Aruch are
Az Kanamer, great.
Yeah. But so the only thing I would maybe push back is this idea that the lack of azut causes destruction and war, and because doesn't that,
Of course it does.
In Aleppo, in the Middle East, the culture does have azut. They're also killing each other.
Listen, the reality is, I'm not sure what time frame you're referring to specifically, but for 2,000 years we were very happy with the Arabs. We had the Enlightenment, we had the Golden Age, we had spectacular scholarship, we had beautiful pieces written in Arabic. I mean, Harambam wrote the Mureh in Arabic. That's how intertwined the cultures were in a beautiful way, right? It's only recent. The craziness is recent, right? So I don't know. We'd have to speak about a more specific time period, and I'd have to understand that time period better. You probably know it better than me. But, what has caused the most destruction on earth? The Christians have. They've murdered more people than everybody else put together, tens of millions, maybe it's hundreds of millions, in fact, at this point. And they're the ones who say, turn the other cheek. And because the Christians never owned the perspective of loving myself first, they end up hating themselves. And they either pull a gun on themselves or they pull a gun on their friend or their so-called foe or enemy. That's the thing. So, now let's put the rub. Yeah. Want to say something?
No, I was just twiddling my pen. Although I'm curious to see how this fits into Kivura.
Very good. Now, if I love myself first, I have to love myself first. Now how does it deal with the awe that I'm obligated to feel and act on vis-a-vis my parent? I love myself first, yeah? That's the story. I love myself first, right? If I love myself first, what about my father's needs? Okay, on a practical level, food, drink, clothing, transport, shelter, right? No problem. I could love myself fully and still help him with his creature comforts. But at the same time, if I'm talking about morah or awe, and I love myself first, and I have to resiliently and aggressively and with azut, with zealousness, right? And brazenness, I have to fight to maintain that. How does that work with putting my father before me? Let's say, to go to our case of that we started working on yesterday, my father says something that's wrong. It's simply wrong. Simply wrong. Factually wrong. Halachically wrong. What do I do? Huh?
You have to keep your mouth shut, but I don't think...
No, wait. 1 second. It doesn't end with that. What do I do if it's me and my father? Just me and my father. Let's take the 3 shlavim, the 3 tranches here. If it's me and my father sitting privately, now I have a resounding and brazen sense of me that I can't throw away. But 1 second, I have this massive obligation to be in awe of my father or my mother. Now my father said something wrong. It's black and white wrong. What do you want to do?
I don't think true confidence or true self-love means arguing.
Okay, well, I'm asking you, what do you want to do?
Yeah, so I would say, in terms of still loving myself, that's unshakable. So if my dad is telling me something that I know is wrong on whatever level it is, I'm gonna sit there and listen because wisdom listens and arrogance.
Is halacha wrong? Like halachically wrong?
Halachically wrong. What do you want to do?
Learn from his perspective.
Exactly.
But he's wrong.
Okay. Why is he wrong?
Because
what in his life caused him to be to this point where?
One second. That's my backstory. You're right, Albert. I hear that. But right now, my father is telling me, you know, you don't need a cup of wine for Havdalah. Pass on the cup of wine. Why do you keep bringing that wine out? You don't need it. I learned that we don't.
His tradition for his whole life. He's been doing it, so he let him.
But okay, very good. So now, you have the obligation of self-love identity, a resolute identity. You have an obligation. That's one. You have these are all number one. I'm positing them this way because they're all effectively number one. Number one is my unshakable sense of self. Number one is my unshakable commitment to halacha. Number one is my respect and awe for my father. Now, he told you something halachically wrong, black and white wrong. What do you want to do?
We'll go away.
Huh?
We'll go between me and him. Okay, I pass on it.
You'd let it go.
I let it go.
Okay?
Are you saying, just to back up, so with this paradigm of loving yourself first, you said, oh, there might be an issue with you and your wife, you and your kids, and we resolve those. And now we're saying, but with parents, there really is like a chafing.
There's a greater conflicting value.
Yeah.
Right? There's an inherent conflicting value. Very good. You said it beautifully. There's inherent conflicting value with my spouse and my children because of our misdirected culture. But over here, there's an inherent conflicting value. It's a fact. The halacha says, no way. So what we learned was, if I'm sitting with my father privately, then I say, you know what, Daddy, I read something, I don't know, it might be wrong, but I read something that says a little different than what you told me. I read something, I don't know, I saw something, I don't know, maybe I probably misunderstood it. But I saw something that said, to our case, that you have to use wine on Saturday night.
I don't see that as conflicting in terms of still expressing my self-love. You know, I view that as someone who is very much self-loving.
Good.
To know that, you know, I could be wrong, and eventually I'm going to fail, and I still have that resounding love for myself. You know, there's always going to be someone smarter, someone bigger, someone stronger, but I'm still me.
Right.
And I love me. I don't view that as friction or chafing at all.
Okay, good. So you said a minute ago that you just dropped the conversation, right?
Yeah. I would
Good. But the halacha is that you can't drop the conversation. The halacha is that your father is saying something against halacha. And you have an obligation to him, certainly, to the two of you, not to have him perpetuate that. At the same time, you have an obligation to respect him. So, I have two halachot, chamsion, two halachot, coming right at each other. What do you want to do?
I guess like the way you say, you tell them this is what I learned, and then I bring it to them.
Beautiful. So I'm going to go in a sort of kil'achayad way. I'm going to go in a little bit of a backdoor way.
Is there a difference against halacha or another opinion in halacha?
That's a fabulous question.
Because I see that happening in the community all the time. My rabbi said this, I learned this.
Okay, so then it's even easier. You know something? By the way, it's even easier. You can say, okay, let me just tell you what my rabbi said, what I learned, the way I learned it. Easier, because it's really non-confrontational. He's presenting it as his rabbi's opinion, and you're presenting it as yours. That's another way to frame it, by the way. Even if that's not true, that's a way to frame it. In other words, rather than saying, Daddy, you're wrong, you could say, oh, wow, that's interesting. The way my rabbi taught it was X. And that's clever. That's very clever. That's another way of saying, I saw this idea. You want to take a look at it. So you have competing halachic values. You have to really dance between the raindrops. I have an unshakable sense of self-love. Can't ditch it. My self-love is also reflected in my commitment to halacha. Can't shake it. One of the halachot is to be in awe of my father. Can't shake that either. So now I could say, ditch my self-love, ignore my commitment to halacha for the minute, or don't respect my father in this conversation. What Maran is saying is, I'm going to give you a way to dance between the three of them. Uphold your sense of self, uphold your commitment to halacha, and uphold the unshakable demand on you to be in awe of a parent, and of course not to contradict the parent, not from the perspective of kavod, from the perspective of morah, and therefore I want to say, it's not you, it's me. It's not it's not you, it's me. What's that cliche in modern relationships? Therefore, what you want to say is, go the other way. Go the other way. By the way, going the other way is a very sophisticated human capacity. It's very, very sophisticated. Going the other way, my father was a master of this. When somebody came at him with something, with synagogue, he would never, and it was like let's say it was a really dumb idea, right? Or something, or he thought it was. He would never confront them directly. He would tell them, okay, Rochi, this kind of thing, let me think about it, right? And he'd come back to them a day later, he says, you know what, yeah, you have a great point, but there are a lot of other people that wouldn't go along with that. With any other people? Generally not. He just didn't think it was a great idea. And what did he do? He dodged the bullet. So he didn't give up on his sense of self-love and self-respect, his core principles, but he dealt with the situation at hand with a sensitivity to the other person. So that's what we're talking about here. So, Shlav Aleph is, Daddy and I are sitting together. I'm not allowed to confront him. I'm not allowed to tell him it's wrong directly, but I'm not allowed to give up on me either. I'm not allowed to give up on halacha either. Therefore, I go kilahayad. I don't tell him, Daddy, it's wrong what you're saying. I say, you know what, I think, I don't know, maybe I saw an opinion that said, I don't know, I got to check it, that you really do have to have wine on Saturday night, to our example, right? That you really do. That's great. Okay, check. Now let's go case B. Case B is you're sitting in a room with other people and your father says the wrong thing. He gives out the wrong halacha or bad advice. Now what do you want to do? Albert, give me the two sides of this halachic question. Side A is what?
My dad's giving me bad advice.
Your dad is putting out bad advice in a room with you and other people. Either bad advice or non-halachic advice or whatever you want. What do you want to do? Other people are going to be...
You don't want to embarrass him.
You're not allowed to embarrass him.
Right.
Right? You're not allowed, right? Good. So now what do you want to do?
Well, I missed all the classes, so I'm learning that. But you don't want to embarrass him. You want to suggest there's a few different ways to look at a problem like this. One way is this way, one way is this way.
Can I do it in front of other people?
As long as you're not embarrassing.
Okay.
It's hard to do.
Hard to do, right?
Yeah.
Very, very nice. So Chacham, they come to you for an opinion. What's your Hebrew name? Abraham? Ham Abraham. They come to you for an opinion. They say, we've been having these meetings with my dad and a bunch of my friends, and from time to time, Dad quotes something that's really, really not in line with halacha. Chacham, what should I do?
You know, it's funny, I was just thinking about my father and his family and his experience growing up, and my wife's grandparents and their experience in Poland, in Europe during the war, and they bring all of this life here into the U.S.
Right.
And here we are, born in Brooklyn, without a worry in our lives.
Right.
Like, you know, the biggest challenge is, you know, we're going to walk to the store and buy some food. you know, to we have to walk 2 blocks or drive somewhere, whatever. Like there's no
Right.
hurdles in front of us.
Right. That's right.
So when they do things, my wife's grandparents lived in Yonkers, and their son, who grew up to be religious, wouldn't eat in their house. You know, I was watching this because I'm a newlywed, and I'm seeing how this dynamic is playing out. They, you know, they're not Shomer Shabbat. They at home was kosher, but not religious enough for the Muncie rabbi. That, you know, that kind of thing. And why? They came from living in the woods for 2 years in Europe and survived and had babies die in the woods. And you think about all of this baggage, and they get to America and they just want to blend in. They don't want to put themselves out. They don't want to find themselves doing something that calls attention to themselves. They're not going to walk around with yarmulke. They're not going to leave us alone. We just want to survive. So now when they say, you know, it's okay. You have to understand why.
Excellent.
Where is that coming from?
Fantastic.
Right? So if my father, one day, you know, we don't know why it happened, but Nasser came into power in Egypt, and they took his father away for 3 months. Took him away. Like, you know, you see the soldiers now taking people away like that, except not Spanish, Jewish. Right? They take him away. 3 months later, he comes back. We have to leave in 3 days. We have to sell everything we have, the pennies on the dollar, and leave. We're not allowed to take anything else. It's the case. Right? You know, maybe he went out to go buy a bottle of kosher wine, and that's when he was arrested.
Right.
So now he's like, you know what? I don't need wine on Haftalah.
Right.
It's a sugar, it's a thing, whatever. Who knows? I'm making
Fantastic.
that up. I don't know.
No. Well, you're hitting it grand slam perfect.
So
You're hitting it
when
perfect.
you have an older generation, and you don't know what they've lived through, they're not sitting in class every morning in shul before work. You know, they don't have that luxury in their lives.
So now you earned the title of Chacham. You got it?
Thank you.
Now you earned the title. You know what the title of Chacham means? It's not a rabbi. There's rabbis everywhere you look, especially these days, right? Okay, good. The Chacham is a person who knows a lot, can move comfortably between those areas of knowledge, and then is going to make a decision or give direction that's gray. That's the Chacham. That's the great man in Judaism.
When we talk about losing, we lost the awe, right? We spoke about losing the awe, and this is a good example. I think this is a new problem. 30, 40 years. Look, your father said something. Oh, question.
Right.
Really, it wasn't today. It could happen daily in someone's house.
That's right.
Right. Where, think about it. Before your father said something, and based on what he went through, his history, you didn't even you didn't question.
That's right. So that's exactly right. So if we put what the two of you are saying together, why did the Torah also mefaret the concept of awe? Why? Why wasn't the Torah enough to say kavod? Not enough, huh? Mefaret. Why would the Torah come back and give us another halacha, separate halacha on top of the halacha of kavod? Isn't kavod enough? I have to add morah. But what about the concept of zilzul? What about the concept, God forbid, of cursing a parent? The Torah has to come and tell me, don't hit your father to the extent that it draws blood, God forbid, or don't be mizalzel the father, don't belittle him. And we went through the question briefly of what about belittling in the mind and not in words? Is a person hayav that on breaking a biblical law when he is mizalzel, when he belittles in his mind? So this is exactly where we are. It's exactly where we are. The parent lived through all of the above, right? To this level of hardship, or not even, right? This is a particular level of hardship which says, no, you can't judge me, right? But in fact, what the Torah is telling us is, whether they live to that level of, or not, you can't judge me. Right? To your point exactly. Now, you can't judge me, but the halacha says this is taref. We're not talking about children who think that they're the next Mashiach and are going to embarrass their parents, because they think they're champions of halacha. We're talking about more of a case like you're mentioning, where we have a parent standing here with everything he or she experienced, with all that he or she gave to me, and my nouveau knowledge. So this is where the Chacham has to weigh in, and not the rabbi. Because this is where the lines maybe should remain blurred a little bit. And when I demand that the only way I'm coming to your house is if you dip your dishes or I'm not coming, that's a problem. Not because the dishes shouldn't be dipped. They did. They should. But let's weigh the scale on what are my biblical obligations and what are my rabbinic obligations. And let me put that in the context of what Kibud Av V'Em is supposed to do. And I'm not for 1 second advocating that anybody go against the halacha. Nobody's going to take my words and cheapen it that way. But halacha has to be vested in chokhmah. It has to be wisdom framed, wisdom driven. Otherwise it becomes a destroyer. Right? Like any legal system. If any legal system is not enlightened and it's not thoughtful, it's a destroyer. It's not an enabler. So the same thing with halacha. So that's why we have the question. I'm sitting in the room with my father with other people. He's saying the wrong thing. What should I do? When he says what he says, the other people will follow what he's saying. Now what do you want me to do? If it was in private, there's no issue. I'm going to confront him in an indirect way. Daddy, listen, you know what? I thought what you said was very interesting, but I saw this rabbi, I heard this thing. Cool, great. What if he's in the room with other people? Let's read this, and then we'll pause for today. From the core deen, core halacha, son or daughter can't contradict, can't conflict with the words of the father or mother. And they're not even, we talked about this way back when, Sion, you remember? I can't even say you're right, Daddy. I can't even say you're right, Daddy. Who are you to say that your father is right? Wow. You cannot even say. He says it clearly. And this is Halacha L'Maaseh, no question. Lo yachriu et divrehem lomar nid'im divrei Abba. You can't say Daddy's right. Sheyesh pazeh zilzul la'aviv. It's disrespectful to the father because the son is projecting in that respect that he's the one who gave the stamp of approval to what his father said. It's an unbelievable statement.
It makes you understand the rest of it.
That's right. Pause here.
How could you disagree with him or whatever? You can't even agree with him.
You can't even agree with him. Who are you to give your stamp of approval to what your father said? Very good. Okay, ושלא בפני אביו, מותר לומר לכל החוקים, נראים לי יותר דברי אבא מדבריכם. But what about if daddy's not around? And there are people who are arguing with their father when the father is not around, then the son is allowed to say, my father's right. In other words, to say my father's right in front of my father is wrong, because I can't disrespect him by saying he's right in front of him. But to say my father is right in front of other people is okay. Right? It's a beautiful nuance. It's a beautiful nuance. If I say my father's right to other people who are questioning his opinion when he's not there, it doesn't fall into the negative context of me having the nerve to validate what my father says. It falls into the positive context of me respecting my father. So that's okay. ואם יש לבן תשובה לטענות החולקים על דברי אביו, ישיב להם אפילו בפני אביו, בין במילי דעלמא, בין במילי דאורייתא, אשר כבוד אביו. Let's say the father is being challenged in front of people, and the father can't grab all the halachic arguments to validate his father's opinion. Sion, what would you say? Father gives an opinion, or says this is what he...
Statement.
A statement, perfect. Gives a statement, and and he's being challenged by it, and the son can draw on some validations of his position that are stronger than his. On the one hand, we said that the son is not allowed to validate the words of his father. Who are you to validate the words of your father? On the other hand, in this scenario, the father is being challenged, and the son has a strong argument to beat back the challenge. Isaac, what would you do? Can the father say it or not? What do you think? Think about it. All right, think about it. It's a hard one.
The father's being challenged?
The father's being challenged in front of a group of people.
Okay.
Right? We said a few minutes ago that the son is not allowed to validate the father's opinion in front of a group of people, because who are you to validate your father's opinion? On the other hand, in this case, the son knows the father is right and has a stronger
Answer.
a stronger answer than the son does. Is he allowed to say it or not?
I think the positive way outweighs the negative.
Excellent, perfect. In this case, the positive outweighs the negative, and my validation of my father's position is considered kavod, respecting him, and not speaking up when I shouldn't in his presence. And therefore, if we're sitting in a room of people, and my father takes a position, and my father's being challenged, and he's trying to validate his position, and he's not validating it as strongly as I could, even though I'm not allowed to say in general, my father's right, who am I to say that? In this case, because I'm bringing a validation that's stronger than his, I'm allowed to do it, because it falls into the context of kavod, of respecting him, and not into the context of the opposite.
Same thing if it's a sibling. If it's a sibling who's challenging the parents.
So if it's a sibling who's challenging the parent, can I say something against the sibling? And what would you say?
Yeah.
Yes, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. The
You're
answer
not, are you obligated to?
is... So it looks from here that you're obligated to. Looks from here that you're
Why?
obligated. Yeah, how could you not? Let's say your father's presenting something to your family, and you don't sense a strong buy-in, right? And you know that halachically or morally, your father's right. You have the obligation to opine on the thing. You would say on the base level, yes. Family dynamics that's a different conversation. If you're going to create a war, I don't know. But otherwise, the answer is yes. Baruch Adonai L'olam ben amen. Thank you.